My name is Rob Shields and I'm here to talk about my new album, Green. It's an electronic album, but it's actually quite guitar heavy, and even though it fits in that kind of house electronic kind of category, the essence of it is that it's all loop based. What I really like about loop based music is that it has this really lovely ethereal quality because it kind of suspends you in this place. It doesn't have a narrative as such. It doesn't feel like it has this kind of beginning, middle and end. Like, I love that it kind of just suspends you in this emotion and this mood for like a prolonged period of time. It doesn't intensify almost, it almost kind of keeps you at this really steady simmering level, and yeah, there's something really nice about that, really pretty. I think it's a misconception that there's a lot of synthesizers and analog hardware when really it's not. It's actually just microphone, samples and guitars. When I wrote the album, I used a guitar and I actually didn't anticipate that it was actually going to be a main feature of the album. I was thinking that was going to be more electronic, but just almost out of necessity, I used the guitar to write my music. And I think maybe a couple of years ago, I aspired to that whole analog hardware, investing in an 808 or something like that. But I just found that I could get equally good results, albeit different textures, out of using microphone, found sound samples and guitar sounds. I've been playing guitar for years. I just think it's a shame to waste that kind of skill. A lot of the album is sort of what came out by accident. I'm almost surprised by some of the things that turn out on that album, some of the songwriting, for example, and I really like that. It keeps it interesting for me because sometimes it's nice when it comes out of just experimenting. It doesn't sound like a particularly experimental album, but there was a lot of experimenting when writing it. Most of the tracks took a while, but Green was actually quite quick because it came about in one take. I just sat down with a guitar. I had a certain setup with effects and just improvised, and what you hear is practically what I actually did in one go, and it just really worked. When I wrote Ajani, I actually wrote it really quickly. I wrote it in about a day because I was between flats at the time, so I was technically homeless. I was sleeping at a friend's house, and I had a day to myself. I was really bored and I just started using objects in the house. Like, I used the sofa to make the kick sound, and then I was jangling keys. I was just doing all this mundane stuff. Used the acoustic guitar that was in the house. I just had the laptop and a microphone. Really happy with how the track turned out. I don't intend on it turning out that way, but if you've got an urge to write music, you don't have to wait for something to come along, you just have to do it. The vocals on that track and on Trust were Katie Lowry. I asked her if she could sing for the record, and she gave me a bunch of recordings of her singing a cappella, and she only recorded them onto her laptop. They weren't like high quality, but they just sounded really good. They sounded really emotional and really raw, and she really sung from the heart, and I think that really shows, especially on Trust. I think without her vocals, I don't think that song would have really made it to the record. All the vocals on the album were generously given to me by one person or another, because the vocals for Suspend, for example, were given to me by Maya. I was just playing around with the vocals and Suspend came out, and it just sounded really great. So it wasn't a conscious decision to use Maya's vocals for the album. It just happened, and then she was really kind enough to give them to me. There is a lot of found sound on the album, but I don't think it's very noticeable because a lot of the found sounds that you hear are almost used for the actual frequencies of the recordings. The sounds were just used to add a certain quality to the recordings to just make it not sound digital, and try and make it sound more rough and worn, and I still wanted it to be dynamic, but I wanted it to have this worn and rough kind of quality. The lyrics on the album, they're kind of all chopped up, and it's not intentionally cryptic or anything. It's more like I just wanted to capture emotion from the vowels of the words and the tones of voice and the emotion that comes from those recordings. The moods are intentional, but I think if there's any deeper meaning, I think that can be interpreted any way you like, really. I don't have any objection to anyone hearing it and interpreting it in a different way that I didn't intend on, so people are more than welcome to do that.